On June 7, 1912, 40 churches gathered at the downtown YMCA to form the Church Federation of Indianapolis. Led by members of the Indianapolis Ministerial Association, Indianapolis founded one of the earliest church federations in the nation and served as a model for other cities. During its early years, the Church Federation was primarily concerned with maintaining public morality by monitoring the enforcement of laws against gambling, prostitution, drinking, corruption, and conducting business on Sundays. For the Indianapolis Ministerial Association, and later the Church Federation, one alarming sign of the decline in public morality was the automobile speed contest to be held on Memorial Day 1912. The Public Morals Committee quickly investigated the Indy 500. Though not racially or religiously diverse at its founding, the history of the Church Federation of Greater Indianapolis is a story of moving from exclusiveness to inclusiveness. Over the next 100 years, the Church Federation would expand its membership to include religiously, racially, and ethnically diverse groups. The 1920s brought great social and cultural change, such as women's suffrage, prohibition, flappers, loosening morality, and the growth of big business. In response to such changes, many Hoosiers supported the Ku Klux Klan, which promised to preserve Protestantism and traditional morality and limit the influence of minorities and Catholics. The Church Federation defied this unfortunate trend and in 1920 established a committee on race relations, which included 5 African Americans. The committee organized an annual Race Relations Sunday during which black and white pastors would exchange pulpits. The committee also sought to address discrimination in housing, education, work, and healthcare. For example, in the 1930s, the Race Relations Committee spoke against Butler University's policy of only admitting 10 new black students per year. The same decade, the committee also worked to open the Indiana High School Athletic Association to participation from African American schools. In 1922, the Church Federation created a social service department whose main duties were coordinating the social services offered by member churches and helping juvenile and criminal offenders transition back into society. This department would prove essential in the 1930s, when the nation faced the worst depression it had ever seen. The Church Federation worked to help churches and organizations cope with the unprecedented unemployment. The 1940s began with a world at war. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor quickly drew the United States into the conflict as well. Though the Church Federation had advocated peace and international goodwill during the interwar years, with the coming of World War II, the Federation decided to provide a Christian influence on wartime preparations. The Federation supported chaplains and provided religious services for servicemen and war workers. The Church Federation also sought to prevent discrimination during wartime. The Race Relations Committee petitioned the defense industry to hire blacks and whites equally and give everyone access to skilled positions. During the 1940s, the Federation also expanded its diversity, adding Rabbi Israel Chodos as a member of the Race Relations Committee and helping create the Indianapolis Citizens Council, which included the Indianapolis Catholic Diocese and the Jewish Federation in its membership. In the prosperous post-war years, the Church Federation blossomed as well. Starting in the 1950s, the Federation had an active communications department, which at its height produced 5 weekly radio programs and 10 weekly half-hour television programs, including the popular children's show, Time for Timothy. Time for Timothy began broadcasting in 1957, and the Federation continued producing new episodes until 1991. By the 1970s, the show was broadcast in 22 cities besides Indianapolis. The 1950s brought the start of another project for the Federation, as it took a leading role in establishing chaplaincy programs throughout the city. The Church Federation recruited and supervised chaplains